And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Finally, we're going to do some live coverage of Ship 38 static fire tests ahead of Flight 11. This is a big milestone. One of potentially two static fire tests, as they normally do. It's on its star still, which I made up. It's not a real name. I made a name up. Don't everyone shout at me. It's basically the modified Pad 1 because, as you know, Ship 36 went boom at Massies, which means they can't do these static fire tests at Massies. So they've got this MacGyver kind of stand, which allows them to static fire on Pad 1. If this all goes well, they'll roll back, they'll do the final TPS work, although the TPS is looking very good, and then they'll stack the vehicle and we'll have Flight 11. We don't know when, but that's one milestone we've got to get out of the way before we can start thinking about a launch date. To talk about this test, I'm joined by Ryan Webber. Hello, Ryan.
Well, hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today? How are you doing, Chris?
Oh, I'm tired. But besides that, I'm excited about the static fire test. That'll wake me up. Also in the background, we've got Jade producing. Thank you to Jay, pushing all knobs and making sure the levers work and everything works with the internets and things like that. We've also got people out in the field. We've got Jack out there at Outpost. You might have seen his post on X, which I retweeted just a while earlier from a vantage point. I don't know if Jack can say hello. I don't know if we planned for this. Oh, hello. He's unmuted.
Yo, I'm here.
Yay! And he's very good comms. That's good, isn't it? Out to Outpost. Let's do the ranch thing because we do like to promote our friends who help us out there. There we go. There's the Nightbot command, which makes you come up with the link to Rocket Ranch, which is an amazing place, as you'll have seen on our last stream where we had people out there. It was an amazing place to watch a launch from. A launch that might be happening soon. Soon, as in maybe early October, maybe a bit later. I think end of this month is probably asking too much now. But again, they have to have this static fire test go well. Ryan, let's start off with that one first. Do you think they'll do one engine test today and 6 engine tests tomorrow? Or will they do it the other way around? Or will they just not bother doing 2 tests?
Considering they have 2 closures set up, and they've basically had the same pattern for every single Block 2 flight, I kind of expect them to do a single engine today and a 6 engine tomorrow. It's just kind of what I'm expecting. I don't see why they would just change it out of nowhere. The only reason why would be they don't think they need to do the simulated in-space burn, but I think they'll just stick with the same stuff and they'll do a single and 6.
Speaking of this preparation for this test that we've got coming up, where do you think we are? Because we've been waiting. People are going, why do you keep moving the counter on the countdown clock? We could have gone live 4 hours ago, and we've been stuck here 4 hours just waiting for something to happen. Because what we like to do is wait until there's a milestone that promotes the fact that we're getting closer to a static fire test, and that's the Orbital Launch Mount event. So Ryan, based on when the Orbital Launch Mount event started, where are we on the T- to static fire potential?
Could be around 5 to 5:15. It really depends on how much they load and which, if it is a single engine, it could be a little bit earlier because it won't load as much. But sometimes what they tend to do with that is they'll take longer to load the same amount. They'll just run the clock the same amount because it's an auto sequence with the vehicle and everything else. So it could be around 5:15. Central time.
we basically just answered 3 questions in one there with our recent introduction answers, because I saw the points in chat and I took those points in chat and basically asked the questions, because they are the main ones on everyone's lips right now, I can guarantee you. But that's another thing you can do. You can do it at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. It goes into our panel when you ask the question using that at the start. And that's the way to ensure that while chat scrolls up and down the screen, it's impossible to keep up with the chat itself. That allows it to go into a panel where we can click on it. It'll go into the ticker, we call it, which is at the bottom of the screen you're seeing right now, the red bordered, basically bottom part of the screen. And that's where we can answer the questions. So that's what we do. We can also thank people. And I'm going to make a point of thanking people, because it is an important thing of why we can do this. It is impossible to do this because of the amount of equipment we've got out there and the amount of the internets we use and things like that. And all things I don't understand. It's costly. So when we get support, it does help us continue to do this kind of coverage, because we're not owned by some big company like a lot of places are, where they've got publishing houses and advertising houses where they're basically just funded by them to promote these streams and they can run the adverts on it. We are self-funded. We run ourselves. So we rely on your support, and your support is always amazing. So thank you to Amanda Bale, who became a PadRat member. Space Pope, bless this test. Bless this test. Yes, and blessings to you also, Space Pope. Thank you, Space Pope. Bideford with the big one. Now I have to take you all into our houses and show homes. Super chat client. Hang on. Now I have to take you all into our houses as I show homes to a super client of mine. Thanks for coming on, Chris, Jack, Ryan, and everyone else. Oh, thank you, Bideford. Bideford, yes, a realtor, I believe you are. But very much, you can promote while you're showing people around houses this stream at the same time. Put it on the big screen. Maybe you're allowed to turn the TV on and put us on the big screen while you're showing people around houses. That'd work, wouldn't it? And Space Pope's back with 10 gifted Red Team memberships. Thank you, Space Pope. You're always a very well-known supporter of ours, especially on these dedicated streams where you're bringing in a lot of people who may have not been a member for a free month, which I think is a really nice thing to do. So I really appreciate it. Some questions here. Randall asks, insert Electron clip here. Love the latest interview with Sir Peter Beck. Yes, Peter Beck really wants Electron in the introduction. The funny thing is, we did add it. There is an Electron in the introduction, but it is like for a very short period of time and a third of the screen. I think we need to put a full screen Electron, and especially Neutron when it launches, into our introduction, because Sir Peter Beck, he knows we don't. He asked for that in the first interview we did with him. We did several interviews with Sir Peter Beck over the years, and he really wants that in. Jack, yes, you want to talk about it, because Jack designed our intro.
It definitely needs to go in more. I mean, he had a good point. His point was that Electron launches a lot. It's one of the most launched rockets. So that's fair. It's a fair point. I would say the point of the intro is that it's supposed to be our own footage, and we have some good footage of Electron in there. But I mean, hey, we need to get some more. And also, of course, like you said, Chris, when Neutron happens, oh boy, you better believe that's going to be in the intro for sure. But yeah, I mean, point taken. But it is in there. It's in there. You just got to look close.
Yeah, it was a really good interview. If you've not watched it, I'm going to try and find it now. I'm going to try and multitask, which is a recipe for disaster with me, because my brain is old and getting to the point where I'm struggling with things. But I will find it. In fact, I'm going to struggle to find it because I need to click on the right tab to start with. That might help. Here we go. We've done so many videos lately. It's hard to find ones we just did a day ago. There we go. Right, so let me spam chat. It's been a while since I spam chat. So let's spam chat. There we go. That is the link to the Peter Beck interview yesterday on NSF Live. It was a really good interview. I do agree with the comment there, and I'm not just saying that. It was a really good interview about a lot of subjects, covering up to Neutron and including the Mars telecommunication orbiter as well. So there's lots of content in there, which is well worth watching. And of course, on our breaking news channel, let me do that as well. Oh my, I'm doing so much multitasking. I'm going to break myself. Here we go. Breaking.
I couldn't even interject, Chris. You're going so fast. You're doing great.
I know, but yeah, it won't last forever. I'll crash at some point, Jack, and I'll go blah blah blah. That's my brain.
Happens to us all.
Yeah, but there is the link to our breaking news channel, which is it's not breaking news channel. It's called Breaking Space. Basically, it is breaking news and also breaking down the items of spaceflight news, so that it works in a double meaning. That's why we called it that. There we go. Trent Thompson wants to know, when patch leak? Well, the process is, as always, when they go to full stack. We might go a little bit earlier during that full stack process, where maybe they've got the vehicles out there and they're just lifting it, and it doesn't have to be completely full stack, but it is a full stack day. That's when we do release the patch. I have seen it. I am desperately trying not to say too much because I'm a terrible leaker. but it's a great patch and it's relevant. Oh no, I'm going to say too much. I'm going to shut up and not say anything more because I'm a terrible leaker. I will say too much and people will start guessing. But it's another great patch, and then we'll obviously have one for Flight 12. Would be something of a challenge because that's going to be a completely new vehicle, Block 3, and it'll be on Pad 2. So this patch and this mission, this Flight 11, is the last time we'll see the Block 2 launch. It's the last launch from Pad 1 in its current configuration. Ryan, what do you expect? Do you expect they'll completely mirror Pad 2 into Pad 1, or will they do something different?
It'll get mirrored, probably with some tweaks. I kind of expect like little changes here and there because they'll fly out of Pad 2B here, and they'll fly out of 39A as well. And they'll learn, kind of quirks and whatnot of the pad, and they'll make changes in the design, and they'll apply them to when they redo this and to the pads at 37 as well. So it might not be an exact mirror, but it'll definitely be the same style with upgrades as they learn things.
I'm going to introduce Alex as well. Alex is joining us. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Chris, and hello, everybody. How's it going?
I wanted to give you a question to introduce you, but I would feel very bad if I didn't give this to Ryan. The nerdy one asked, off topic, but they just tested Pad B's deluge, and it was awesome. No way to know for sure, but wondering if it was full pressure. That's got to be a Ryan question. I'm sorry, Ryan. You were very excited about it, and we wanted more cameras pointing at it, but we were too busy focusing on protecting them from the rain and Pad 1. But maybe you can talk about the deluge we put out there, and I will link the tweet with the video of it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's full power on the buckets alone, and it's only the buckets that are being fired. The ridge and the deck are not hooked up yet. They just got another tank in, and they have to hook all those up. But this is the third test of the system. One was a little bit of water, the next one was more, and this one's even more pressure as they keep upping the pressure. I don't know if it was full pressure. If it was, it's still a lot. It's probably in the realm of like a couple hundred thousand gallons of water or something like that. Maybe at least 100,000 gallons. I don't know how much they're using right now, but it went for like 40 seconds, and I can't wait to see a booster static fire on that thing once it fires as well. It's gonna be so cool.
Very good. Liz wants to know when the next Shuttle Sunday is. That's a very good question. I think we've got a lot of things coming up on the Sundays. We always pick a free Sunday where we're not doing a stream like a museum show, or we've got a dedicated stream for a launch like a Starlink or whatever. So it's quite random. It's not really that regular to the point that we can say every second Sunday. But we do tend to do at least one a month, and we're going to go through all the missions right through to 135, all the way through. So we are building up a repository of Shuttle archives as such, and then we've got plans to utilize that as well. So bear with us. I will give some plenty of notice for when the next Shuttle Sunday will be. We are getting closer to the Hubble deployment mission as well, which is an exciting one. So we are making our way through the missions. I think we're on 25 missions now, if not more than that now. So we're making progress, but we will give plenty of notice. I will just thank more people, because more people are supporting us, and I don't expect this because this is really not the exciting part. They haven't started filling the vehicle yet of potentially one of two static fire tests of just the ship, remember. So it's amazing that we get so many people in. We've got over 5,000 people in already and get this support. So I want to make sure I thank those people. One with the mandatory can they static fire in the rain? Jack, can they static fire in the rain? Jack's not on comms. I will do a Jack impression. Yeah, probably. Cooper says has gifted 10 Red Team memberships. People who won't know the reference to that, it goes back to the Ship 36 test where we were literally talking about if they could static fire in the rain, and then it blew up after the year, probably. Keith, thank you all. Well, thank you for your support, Keith. That's not a lot to say. You could have said a long message in there if you wanted to, but you just said thank you, and I very much appreciate that. Chris W. is one of our team, became a launch director member. What's going on there, Chris? You don't even need to. You're a moderator. XD9 gifted 10 Red Team memberships. Paul Williamson became a Padrat member. John Mr. Coffee, who I need to DM, by the way. John, after I come off this stream, I will send you a message because I'm getting you linked up with something. Gift a Red Team membership. Nick gifted Red Team membership, and Telstar86 gifted Red Team membership. Thank you to everybody for your support. That is a lot of people supporting at a very early part of a stream, which you normally don't expect. You get the activity when things get really exciting, so that is really cool. Speaking of which, is the all Alex, where are we with this testing? Because the Orbital Launch Mount, unless I was not paying enough attention, seems to be really venting now.
Yeah, it's progressing on that chill down of those lines. You can see those two very wide, frosty propellant lines there for the methane and the liquid oxygen, getting ready for the propellant load. I'm not fully sure with the timings, because sometimes for these, especially when they use the ship contraptions and whatever, it's a little bit different. But I would expect probably something in about half an hour or so in terms of propellant load. But we'll see.
Very good. So, Ryan, let's go back to the reason why they're doing the testing on Pad 1. Because this is not normal. This is not what SpaceX normally do or plan to do with the pad for ship static fighters. They have the Massies test site down the road of Highway 4, where they would do static fire tests of ships. But unfortunately, because Ship 36 decided to have a very bad day, they blew up the stand and everything like that. So they thought, well, we're going to have a several-month stand down, or we could try and modify Pad 1. So that's what they've done, and it's worked out reasonably well so far, especially compared to the launch cadence that they could have been suffering, or launch schedule they could have been suffering from if they'd not had that capability to modify Pad 1. But the question I've got here from Stu Ace is, how are the repairs going for Massies? Because Jack just recently did a flyover, didn't he? So based on the flyover photographs, what do you think the status of Massies is right now?
It's still a little bit of ways out. It's probably going to be end of October, maybe into early November when it'll be ready. It'll be ready long before Ship 39 is ready for any kind of static fire testing, I can tell you that much. A lot of work is progressing on the new electrical system for all of Massey's, because it got fried when 36 decided to blow itself to pieces. The methane farm's coming along very nicely. There's still a blast wall they got to build. Like, I think it was literally just yesterday, they started building the gantry for the ship QD again. So that's going up. New fluids bunker, new cryo trench. The work is definitely progressing. They've made a lot of good progress over the last couple of months, but there's still a decent amount of work to go before they test the system again and are able to actually static fire a ship on it.
Very good. I did forget to put Lizzie's question into the ticker while answering it, so I'm going to do it now, but I did answer that one just before then. Also, Alex, I think this is something I completely agree with, because it does look very impressive. Nado wants to know, can we talk about that gorgeous looking TPS? I don't think we've ever seen such a clean one like this. I agree. I don't think we've ever seen a TPS look as good as this. Do you agree, Alex?
I would even go beyond that and say we have not seen it that well at this stage of testing, because every single time they have been doing engine test on a ship, even with Block 1 vehicles, they never had finished the TPS, right? They had never put on all the tiles, or at least anywhere close to having all the tiles put on the ship, or even some of the other materials like the pyron on the sides, for example, the ablative materials that they use on the sides and things like that. This time, other than missing a few tiles on the nose cone, a few on the flaps, like, you can count them with your hands, essentially, right? Everything else is already there, it's already installed, and it is ahead of engine testing, which means once they come back to the Mega Bay after this, they probably don't have a lot to do with the ship, other than perhaps we're going to see again, them loading Starlinks maybe again. We'll see if they test that on Flight 11, but that could be another thing that they may be trying again, where they make sure that, Flight 10 was not just a fluke and that it works multiple times and not just once, right? So it means essentially, unlike some of the previous testing and some of the previous campaigns that we saw, this time around maybe Ship 38 can be ready for flight even earlier than other times. But that is, provided that there's no rogue artifacts that need to be changed or anything like that, right?
Yeah, Ryan, can we discuss that? Because the last time they did a test, the first time, in fact, they did a test, they had to do an engine swap. And when they went back, they did a spin prime. It's almost like when they static fire up the engines, in this configuration, it's not a natural configuration for it, so maybe they could potentially cause a little bit of issues with the Raptors during testing. Am I going a bit too far with that, or is it just speculation on my part because they had to replace an engine?
You aren't. They're basically firing 6 engines into a tunnel. It's about 5 meters long. When you go from the bottom of the RVAC nozzles to the bottom of the mount itself, it's like 5 meters. It's or at least a couple of meters, and you're basically trying to fire a bunch of engines into a tunnel. And when it comes to rocket exhaust, that could, create a weird pressure differential. It could create some weird stuff with the rocket exhaust, and it might actually do damage to the engines or to the ship or whatever, because that's not how the engines were not meant to fire in this configuration at all. Over at the Massey site, there's a little bit of room between the bottom of the top of the static fire stand and the bottom of the ship, and then it goes into an open area and then down into a trench. When it fires, after stage separation, it's just the bottom of the ship and then rarefied air, or more or less a vacuum, especially after stage separation, depending on where the altitude of the ship is. So it's not a normal configuration. It's not where it was designed to fire. So it's entirely possible that damage may have been incurred. Whether or not that'll happen this time, or whether or not SpaceX has come up with a way to try to prevent that or anything, if it did happen, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they don't have to do an RVAC swap and they can just fly this thing and get it over with.
Or they have to do an RVAC swap and it just delays the launch a little bit, which would not be terrible for those people who are meeting up in London in the early October. Because I do have a question here saying from Max Farrar asking, is a September flight for your Flight 11 still on the table? Well, I suppose technically it is, Alex, until it isn't. It's impossible to rule it out, isn't it? But it's looking more likely we're moving into October now.
Yeah, I will say that September is very, very tight. We are talking essentially 12 days to the end of September. And there's still, whatever happens today, then we assume that today is going to be the single engine static fire, and that they're going to be doing the 6 engine static fire test probably tomorrow, right? So you're talking 11 days from one to the other. It's true that 37, for example, it did its final engine test, that spin prime test. It did that on, I think it was August 13, and the first launch attempt was August 24th. So that's 11 days. However, we also saw with every single Block 2 ship before, they had to retest, or at least they needed more time after engine testing to maybe change an engine or something like that. Every single, ironically, except for Ship 36, every single Block 2 ship has needed an engine change. And so, I don't know, there's a potential here that today Ship 38 static fires, then tomorrow it static fires again, and then a week from now it's back on the pad getting tested again, right? It could happen like that. And then if it happens like that, then we're talking about, again, like a week delay or something like that into September. I don't know, but just saying that September is very tight. It will need everything to go right with this ship. And again, the test campaigns of the previous ships are not helpful, to put it that way.
This is a relevant question because one thing that would not be much of a bottleneck this time comes from a question from Israel Brewster, who asks, might the advanced TPS state mean less turnaround this time between static fire and launch? So let's take that into account. They've not completed the TPS. I myself thought, is it completely done? No, they've still got some on the flaps to do and what have you. But Ryan, do you think, based on the fact that most of the TPS looks pretty much complete, that would aid, pending a good static fire campaign, the turnaround? What's left? What did I have to reconfigure the pad? That takes a few days. Now we've noticed it doesn't take that long to reconfigure the pad. The booster's ready to go, I assume. Just finish off the TPS. They could turn around pretty fast, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could turn around the ship pretty quick. Just final inspections. There's some tiles here and there to put back in, unless they want to leave those off. There's some around the flaps, flap fairings. There's 5 up in the nose cone. Either they'll install those or just leave them off. But it's definitely in a much more advanced state because it also has the ablative, basically, on the closer to leeward side. It's much more completed than 37 was. And then in terms of the pad, the pad turnaround would probably be even quicker. If SpaceX really wanted to, they don't have to reseal the holes on the booster QD. They don't have to. It's never going to be used again after the next launch. Oh, yeah. So they could just leave them unsealed and the booster will help with some of the demolition. It's one of those things if they didn't really care enough about it. But yeah.
No, that's a good point. We normally do have to have the consideration, or at least SpaceX will, when we just basically follow along what SpaceX is doing, the considerations of turnaround to the next launch. This is not a configuration we're going to see launch again, as in a pad configuration. So it doesn't matter if they damage the booster quickness going to hurt and things like that. To the point, it doesn't go flying and ends up ricocheting and hitting the booster. Let's face it, we've got to be careful. But yeah, that's something I've not registered in my brain yet, as far as something they don't have to worry about after this launch, because this will be the final time in this configuration we'll have a launch on this kind of pad. So that's fascinating. That's an interesting thing. I'm getting more excited about September now. I've gone to kind of thinking it might slip into later in October, which would be relevant to allowing us to have the full team available to maybe launching before October, which would be good. Let's see what happens. That's the exciting thing about rockets, is you never quite know, especially with a test program. This is still a test program, everybody. You've got to remember that. It's still a test program. We are not at the point of operational flights yet. That is going to be coming next year, all being well. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed. So that's the hope now, that this test program finishes on a high, because the last one was pretty good, let's face it. The last flight was pretty good. We want another good one. I want to thank some more people. Phil, that's 25 hours of Shuttle Sunday. Whoop. The detail and respect you give to each mission is amazing. Oh, thank you, Phil. Statify, let's go. Horses, York City FC. Phil is really going for the full bingo card there. Thank you, Phil. You mentioned Shuttle, York City FC, and horses. My word. You're like one of my best friends in chat. There we go. Thank you. JRE has become a PadRat member. Space Perp is back with a tip. And by the way, tips is the way you can bypass. Everything we get support-wise is very much appreciated, don't get me wrong. But tips means everything. There's no cut taken. Go straight to it. I'm going to put it in chat. You're all very much welcome here. You do not have to do super chats. Most of the questions I've been asking so far have not come from super chats. I'll make sure we are interactive as possible. That's always in the back of my mind. It might be some young young person who may have come on here. By the way, Doug, LUFC, I know what that stands for. Get out. I'm joking. It could be some young person who's in here for the first time and they ask a question and maybe Alex and Ryan answers it and maybe they get interested in spaceflight from that. That's always in the back of my mind. It's always in the back of my mind. So it's very important that we don't just read out super chats. There's a tips command, by the way. Space Pup, thank you for your support as always. Space Pup was asking Jack to stay dry. Good buddy. Coop has done a big one as well. Team NSF, thank you for all that you do. Well, thank you, Coop. Again, it's your support that allows us to do this. So very much thank yourself at the same time. North Antarctica, one of our biggest supporters. Hello there. Sorry I'm late. You okay? We're not any closer to prop loading yet testing, so we're not close to static fire test just yet. We're getting there, but not for a while, so you're not really that late. Mr. Fluffy, hi from Montana. North Wyoming cursed, second best cursed. Poor Adrian with his Wyoming curse reference there. We'll never live it down. Nibbles gifted 5 team membership. Speaking of which, Rob Shepard says, got my free membership. I don't know who donated it, but thanks so much. That's a lovely thing to do. It will, if you see it live, show it's come from. So when we did that, we had that 5 gifted membership just there. Let me just see. It says there, look, like Julian Ziza received a gifted membership from Nibbles. That's an example. It will show you who sent you it. But if you just suddenly surprised you found it, it would have been someone earlier. And it's always nice to thank people. Alex, have we seen any documentation for Flight 11 yet, such as NOTAMs and NOMARs and what have you?
Not that I know of. Nothing.
Very good. I gave you that question because I thought you might go a bit longer while I reset my monitor from turning itself off. It's okay.
Yeah, we have not seen anything, unfortunately.
Hey, Ryan, this is related to what we were just talking about, but it's kind of like a good question that we can talk future tense with. Is Samuel Miller asks, after Flight 11, how fast do you think they will tear down the Orbital Launch Mount?
I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing it pretty quickly after. It'll be a process to take it all out. Just taking out the pad, plus the steel plate and everything else. They could, it could take 6 to 8 months just on its own, or 6 to 9 months. The one thing I think would be really cool, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, and they can do it without destroying it that much, is taking out that steel plate and saving it. Because I think it would look kind of cool if they just, put it up somewhere. As kind of like a look what we did kind of thing. But we'll see if they save any part of the pad and kind of like store it off the side as a memory of the first part of the Starship program.
Very good. Paul Graves, after Shuttle Sundays, all done, switch to Soyuz Sundays. I don't know if we could really do that. I like Shuttle Sundays because we've got massive archives of content that we can go through in depth on every single mission. I mean, we spend an hour on each mission, and some of these are DoD missions where there was very little video because of obviously it was a DoD, a US Air Force mission, but we do have enough photographs to cover and enough post-flight presentations from the crew to really go in depth with those missions. I think there was a call at one point to do an Ares Sunday. That would be one Sunday, and it'd be full of ridicules. Look at that! Look at that in chat. Someone spamming with their moderator status.
Who's
Ares Sunday? Pod Dolphin Productions. What a name!
Get that guy out of the way.
Yeah, moderators. I wonder if you can moderate a moderator. I think you could, couldn't you? I could. I've got admin privileges. Yes. Should we ban him? No, I'm joking.
Time out.
That'd be one Sunday of ridicule. That rocket was the bane, and any NASA people who may be in chat right now from that era will understand and know exactly what I mean by it. That was such a problem rocket. I guarantee you've seen rockets have issues during their early days. Nothing will beat Ares. That was such a problem rocket. I'm not even joking, by the way. That's not any personal bias. It was just what the NASA guys were just bemoaning week after week when we were covering it, saying this rocket is just absolute pain. Jeff, thank you for your support as always. Thank you to the entire NSA for all you. I feel really weird reading these out, by the way, Jeff. Someone has gone out of their way to support us, and then I have to read it out where they're thanking us for it. And I'm thinking, well, you've just thanked us by supporting us, and you've written it as well. I'll never lose appreciation for that because it really is very much appreciated. But I feel weird reading it out because you've like double support almost. Really appreciated that. Alex, Moto Kenzie wants to know, there's a rumor going around that Flight 11 might be a night launch. What do you think?
Well, I don't know what to think. Like, it will be awesome, I guess. It's a great point in time, I guess, to try out a night launch because they've already done 10 flights in daylight, and I think that's the all event stopping. Yep, there we go. So propellant load is underway.
Woo. Timeline, Alex. Where are we with the timeline based on this very point in time?
Well, looks like we may get a test around 5 p.m. 5:05 maybe, we'll see. But it's usually around 40 minutes or so to load. Maybe even less if they're doing only one single engine, but I don't know. We'll get to see that shortly because when they do a single engine, they only load a little bit of liquid oxygen, right? Instead of loading the entire tank of liquid oxygen. So that means that the propellant load sequence is shorter. It doesn't take as long. So we'll see what happens, but definitely could be anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes from now.
There we go. Very good. As my monitor does reset, regardless of me leaning over and telling it not to turn itself off. But there we go. And I still can't turn it back on. But that is turned back on. There we go. Oh, yes.
One of the things...
Oh, yes, Alex, go on.
I was going to point out another thing, which is, unlike when they load a booster, we're not able to see the pipes, the feed lines that go to the booster, because unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, if you're a pad engineer, it's probably a lucky thing that you've got the hood, right? That little or big, I guess, sort of block next to the ship that sort of rusty thing on the left. That houses all of the pipes and everything for the booster. However, they're not using those. They're using the ones that they did this whole bypass and everything, the MacGyver ship connections and whatever. Now they are frosty because now there's propellant flowing through them. So you can see there, one of them is getting frosty as, I think that's the liquid oxygen one, Ryan, right?
Yeah. Well,
They're
no,
loading-
actually, that looks methane. I think the methane one is frosty first.
So they're loading propellants. Now we can see very clearly those propellant lines are frosty. It's not just the ones on the launch mount, but also the feed lines that go to the ship are clearly frosty. So it's getting its own beverage, I guess.
Beverage, yeah, the favorite beverage of a rocket. By the way, that's kind of a nice little segue into what Cooper's said here. We do appreciate all the commentary and the explanations to the new visitors. That is super important. So I'm glad you've noticed that. There's two ways of saying that. One is that we're not in front of a bunch of SpaceX PDFs with ITAR written all over it and we're sneaking out information of technical things. Those are internal to SpaceX. Those are things that SpaceX says, no, we don't get to see things like that. A lot of the things we talk about is based on our experience of following this rocket and other rockets as well. Observational data, the fact that we're allowed to have cameras out here, which is amazing that we can get these close-up views of the rocket. We learn over time the tests and how they do things. That's why we know what it means when the Orbital Launch Mount vent cuts off, things like that. So it's our job to then pass on that experience and knowledge to everybody in chat, but also based on just us being like you in chat as fans of rockets, we'll try and portray what we find exciting to you. And maybe if someone's joining this for the first time, and it happens every stream, you will get people who are joining for the first time, that we make sure that they don't feel like they're just thrown into a bunch of data. They get to experience the fun of rockets too. And then they will get the experience by watching more and more streams and learning, going on sites and watching other people's videos and things like that. So that's the whole point of how we do it. And it is super important because I can go back. We can all go back. Everybody in chat can go back to the first time they started reading or watching or learning about rockets. They can go back in time to that time where they were basically learning from the start, from the ground up, so to speak. So it's an important responsibility to make sure that we always have that in the back of our minds, that we don't just start throwing out massive data based on, our experience so far, as if everybody's suddenly an expert. We'd never pretend to be that. So that's an important way we do our commentary. It's a natural thing. It's not anything that we've gone, this is what we must do. It's just how we come across. And if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. And there we go. So that's what we do. What vent start again, Ryan, that we just seen popping up?
That's just the Pope vent. It'll continuously go on and off as pressure gets building, as they continually load methane and flow methane through the system. That's just all it does. Yeah.
Very good. Ricky Nixon, have we seen them loading up some of the dumb links yet? Dumb links is an affectionate term that some people have come up with, where it means the Starlink simulators, which we saw actually deploy on Flight 10 for the first time. Woo! But that doesn't happen until they've completed the static fire test and roll back to the Mega Bay. Is that correct, Ryan? They're way too soon for that yet.
Yeah, it'll once they complete the static fire testing, it'll roll back, and assuming the ship is good to go and no issues, they don't need to retest. They'll probably load a few of them again to try to test it again, because why not? You want to refine that system before you actually try to deploy real Starlinks. Hopefully, and they're hoping summer of next year at this rate, but we'll see. And yeah, I expect it'll get it right after, maybe like 4 to 8.
Alex, K Green asks, how much of these consumables are lost during the venting? So we've seen a lot of venting. We've seen the Orbital Launch Mount, the waterfall, things like that. We've seen a pub vent going. On a bigger scale of things, are they losing much consumables by having these venting going on? Is it a deceptive thing where the venting isn't actually a lot of the propellant?
Well, one of the things is that a lot of the venting that you can see here, for example, this is nitrogen, and it's very easy to get, especially once they have the air separation unit going on. It makes up nearly 80% of the air, right? So it's a thing that once you vent it, yeah, it's lost, but it's rather easy to then pull it back and everything. And so most of the trucks that we see actually after they do some testing are nitrogen trucks, because that's the one that that sort of gets lost the most because of all the tank farm chill down and everything. The next one is the liquid oxygen. The liquid oxygen, it is reclaimed when it is loaded on the ship or the booster or both when it's a full stack, right? It is then reclaimed after a test, after whatever full stack testing or a ship or booster testing, right? But some of it gets lost because of boil off, because it's a cryogenic, it'll boil off as usual, so you cannot really do anything about that other than you vent it. Now the methane, you cannot vent it, and so what they do is they have this reclaiming system that they are able to then put it back. You can sort of see it actually on the Pope vent to the left, to the left of the Pope vent on the launch mount. There's like one white line there. That's the return line from the methane line that sort of goes around the launch mount from the other side, and then it sort of returns some of the methane gas, so that it can then be recondensed.
You can actually see it right in this shot right here. You see that frosty line that goes down the leg? That's your reclaim line. Yeah,
that's the one that I was mentioning. And so that one goes back to the tank farm. At the tank farm, they have a recondenser that they can use to be able to go from methane gas to liquid methane, and then put it back on the storage tank. So that means whenever there's again a test or whatever, and they need to refill the tank farm, methane is the least that they need of. Maybe a few trucks here and there, but there's not a lot lost. For oxygen, I think, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, for some of the testing lately for booster, for example, they had to come up with like about 12 or 2,000 of liquid oxygen trucks, right? Maybe a little bit more?
They use the commodity they use the most is liquid oxygen by far. Because a lot of the venting that comes out of that bunker vent is actually LOX, because it's the LOX valves and
nitrogen.
the LOX side that gets done. More often than not, and actually it's Vixie here on X. What is it like does daily cryo counts, like as of today? September 17th, there are two LN2 trucks, 14 LOX trucks, and 2 CH4 trucks. And then, of course, since the last launch, I think it was like 102 LN2, 169 LOX, and like 45 CH4. So, because CH4, as they know, they try to recover it as much as they can. LOX gets dumped over more than anything because they use it to chill down everything. I think they're going to try to reclaim some of it on Pad B. It's unclear if they're going to bring it back to the tanks or put it into the vent box. But LN2 is mostly vented off when it comes to the subcoolers, and then the when you go to recondense the methane. So
Thanks to 33 Raptors Mimi, that's the username. Give it a Red Team membership. Taserface282, that's also username. Y'all. That is one nice looking ship. Ship 38 is my favourite ship. Well, again, it's a reference to the TPS. It does look so good. I know Ryan Caton, who's on after me on this live stream, actually got retweeted by Elon for referencing how the tiles look so good. He wants SpaceX's to tile his bathroom. That resonated with Elon. Astro Knucklehead, gift a Red Team membership, one of our regulars. Sherbet Todd Bot, do you think we'll have an official notification of a launch date later today if this static fire goes perfectly? I don't think so, because I don't think this is the only static fire they'll do. They've got probably another one tomorrow based on the road closures. So even after then, I mean, Ryan, do you think the launch date, historically, when do we get that kind of launch date notifications? I think we get the documentation first to give us a clue, and then SpaceX do like a media release to inform them of remote setup and things like that in Danger Lot. And that's when the launch date really comes out, and that's much closer to the launch date itself.
Yeah, I would expect the static fire to happen today, and the OLM vent is back. That's odd. That's not normal. We'll just put it that way. That shouldn't be happening. I was actually going to say, I was wondering why we hadn't seen LOX frost yet, so there's a slight possibility that they ran into an issue with prop load here. Usually they'll complete both static fires, and then they'll inspect the ship, and then if they're good and they think they have no issues, they'll start issuing notices out a week and a half, 2 weeks before they want to go. So as soon as they know the ship is good to go, they'll start putting out notices, no Mars, no TAMS, across the Indian Ocean, Gulf, and Caribbean to line things up. So, but yeah, Olin vent is back on. We did not see any frost on 38. Either they are going to try to recycle, or we'll see here. But this is not normal. Just say that.
Well, Alex, because Ryan's already given us the preemption, this is not normal. To those who may be thinking, what did I mean that's not normal? Why is that a problem? Alex, maybe you want to explain that what you expected to happen next and what has now happened, which points to a change of the process towards the static fire.
Yeah, so they were loading propellants, but they did not go as far into that propellant load as we were expecting. That OLM vent behavior is quite weird.
Off again.
But yeah, I mean, if they are detanking, then they're probably stopping, and yeah, there we go. It stops and goes on as they unload. So yeah, like the thinking is because that OLM vent came back, they're probably unloading whatever little amount of propellant they loaded onto the ship. And so right now, that is sort of where we are right now, where it's like we are probably in some kind of hold at the very least. But yeah, it's normal to see the OLM vent. Once it comes back, if they are holding and sort of draining back and things like that, it coming back and dying off as it is right now, for example, that is normal to see. But that's why it's a weird behavior. You're not meant to see the OLM vent coming back that soon, especially with no frost on the vehicle at all. It just means that they loaded propellant, but it was just like the domes, essentially, the bulkheads and transfer lines and things like that. But the tanks are very much almost empty.
I never saw the methane. Now that I think about it, I never saw the methane subcoolers engage and start. So they never actually loaded any methane in there. We'll see if they kick in at all or if not.
Right. One thing we're looking at just quickly while we're showing this on screen is that one indication of a problem would be cars lining up behind the roadblock and then released to go to the pad. That has not happened, so that's a good point. That's a good view we've got right now, showing there isn't a bunch of SpaceX engineers waiting to go back to the pad to fix something. So that's good.
Yeah, and another thing to point out as well is that they have the road closure window goes until 9 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. So that means there's plenty of time for them to be able to retry today again if they wanted to.
Yes, the prospect of it being 9 p.m. tonight is a long way off yet, so that'll be interesting to deal with the coverage of that. But we've got plenty of questions to keep us occupied in the meantime. That's the good news. And by the way, I did get my eyes averted to this one from north of Antarctica. I wonder why. Who says, I can't wait for STS-93 Shuttle Sunday. STS-93. To those who may not know what STS-93 is, that was Elaine Collins' mission with the Chandra telescope. And that one had initially a late abort, which is very rare for shuttle and not usually very good, after the rophets are fired, which is never good, where Columbia was misbehaving. And they did an abort, and the point of the abort was where the controllers had to repeat it. Call abort, call abort, call abort, cold hold, cold hold. It was kind of a little bit scary. But that was held, and they detanked, and they went and rested for a few weeks and then went back. And then the launch itself was very eventful, to the point that the intro has, yikes, you bet, concur, we don't need any more of these, is from the flight control loop of STS-93. It was one heck of a mission, that one. So that is something I do look forward to for a Shuttle Sunday, because there's a lot of things that went wrong with that mission, but luckily they all came back safely. 98 Central asks, are the TPS towers for Starship manufactured in Florida? Will they ever be baked in Texas. Now, that's a good point because I do believe, Alex, that they still make the TPS towers, correct me if I'm wrong, is it called Sidra Road?
Sitco Road, yeah. But now they are also doing those at Hangar X2 at Roberts Road. They're shifting the production of the tiles to the Kennedy Space Center.
Very good, yes. And for those wondering, SpaceX's initial facility at the East Coast was this very small facility. And then they built this kind of bay, which looked like a cathedral. It was almost quite impressive. But of course, compared to the structures they've built since at both they're going to build at Roberts Road and also at Starbase, it is tiny in comparison. It really is. But those are the early days. The early days where the Mark II was built. Was it the Mark II at I can't pronounce the name of the place, but was it Mark II at Florida and Mark I at Starbase, the two very janky-looking starships? Alex?
Yeah, so there was Mark II and Mark IV at the Sitco Road. Mark IV was only just a few rings scattered across the facility. Mark II, they actually built the nose cone separately and then the tank on another side, but it was never put together, unfortunately. The only one that got put together was Mark I at Starbase. And then they also did a few rings as well of Mark III at Starbase. They were doing sort of the odd-numbered marks, and the even ones were at Florida, which was rather funny. But yeah, so that was essentially what they were doing there. And then they turned that, as you said, to create the thermal protection system, the tiles for Starship. And now they're moving that to Hangar X2, sort of to have everything under the same location. Essentially, you've got Falcon refurbishment, you've got Dragon stuff as well, the bakery. They're also building a Gigabay now for Starship. In the future, there'll be a Star Factory as well. So they have everything in the same complex, just so things can be a little bit more together and easier to reach in between teams.
Very good. Booster 12 wants to know what the LDAPAABJRGB2 blah 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 means in the YouTube live stream descriptions. That's a license to the song of our introduction music. So our intro plays with the Yikes You Bet Concur. The music we've licensed. I think we've played around with it a bit. Jack, I don't know if Jack's back on comms.
Oh, he is. A lot. Yeah, I've been here. I've messed with it a lot. The song is called A New Way Out. The artist is Dennis, Denis. The song is called A New Way Out. But even if you can find it, it's not the same as the NSF intro. The NSF intro is the NSF intro.
Yeah. So basically what we've done there is you've got to on YouTube put a license because the auto detectors that go after copyright strikes and what have you, they would spot it and ask us where you get the permission from. You got to basically appeal it every single time. So that code is our code for that music, and that's how we put it into the description. So it's nothing weird. It's something we do on purpose. Starship X, SpaceX Starship V1 even, what is his name? How much TPS do you think will be lost during the static fires? Well, there's normally a case of where on previous tests at least, not recently though, I don't think, it's expected to lose some TPS, and that's not a terrible thing because remember, it's firing its engines while being held down, and that can cause oscillations through the vehicle itself, and that can knock some tiles off. But Ryan, if I remember rightly, they've not really lost any tiles recently.
I can't remember any recent ship that has lost a tile on a static fire. SpaceX has gotten a lot better with attaching these tiles compared to the S20, S24, 25, 26, or not 26 because it didn't have any tiles. Bad ship. Like 28 days, even going to ship 28 or whatnot. But it was mostly those really, really early days where they were learning how to put tiles on ships, stuff like that. They've gotten a lot better with it. I don't expect this thing to lose a single tile during any static fire testing, or even future ships for that matter. It's especially Block 3 ships because it's a new pin design that they have on that too. So.
Yep. And also, I want to thank some more people again. I always stumble over this because I don't expect it, and it really is great when you see it. And I do want to make sure everyone gets read out on that one as well. Chris Ray, who's done a big super chat and then said this, which is amazing. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do. I discovered NSF the day of the first launch attempt of SLS. Orange Rocket good. Got a recommendation for some booster engine testing you covered, and have been hooked ever since. Stay awesome, friends. What a lovely message. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. I mean, this we get a lot of these messages saying thanks. Probably people go, wow, NSF just reads out the nice messages. No, I know we've got a few people who don't like us, but the fact that we got so many who do just mitigates that. When you get to my age, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore, you get to appreciate and focus on the people who do like what you do. And when it's a vast majority of people, which it really is, then you can never really get too upset or angry about the occasional troll you get, which you do get. When you go on the internet, this is something for people who may be starting off as well. Have a thick skin, because it's very easy to get one or two people who are just basically fixated on trolling people. Just ignore them. Focus on what you're good at, focus on improving, and focus on the people who appreciate what you do. That's the best way of doing it, really is. Otherwise, you'll go crazy. And you don't want to go crazy, not on the internet. Nick Petros, here's to October 6th or 7th launch. Thanks, NSF. I agree with that launch date. That would be fine. That launch date would work out fine. Either late September or after the first week of October-ish. That would work very well for reasons we may be very busy otherwise. We do have a contingency plan, by the way, if it does go on October the 4th, which is one of our big meetup dates. We do have contingencies for that, so don't worry. It's not a case that we won't be covering the launch. Of course we'll be covering the launch. But yes, it'd be more acceptable for people's travel arrangements to launch either end of September or after, say, maybe the 5th or 6th of October. There we go. Thank you very much. Ronald asked a question, now my brain's gone. Have they ever nighttime static fired before? I'm thinking, of course they have, but Alex, help me out. Have I gone crazy?
Do you remember at what time Ship 36 happened?
Well, I know, but that wasn't really a static fire, was it? Let's face it. But they've done other static fires, haven't they? Yeah, they've done others at Massies with static fires at nights, haven't they?
Yeah, and Booster 13 did one after sunset as well for Flight 6 here at the OLM. So they've done some testing after sunset, and way back in the old days, I guess, there was even more done late at night.
Yeah, I was going crazy. When I read the question, I'll go, yes, of course they have. And then I doubted myself. I was thinking, hang on a minute, maybe Ronald's asking the question because they haven't yet. So that caught me out a little bit there, but that's fine, because we do have Alex and Ryan to help me out with the actual proper answers. By the way, Todd Harris wants this one from a full wet blanket Weber answer. So you ready, Ryan, for this? What kind of launch cadence do you think we'll have in Q4 2026? So we're going to go in time, 1 year's time. If not, a bit over 1 year's time, in fact. Are we in Q4 yet? No, we're not, are we? So in Q4 2026, how often do you think Starship will launch in, Ryan?
Once a month still. And well, I think it'll be once a month still, and it'll mainly be out of Pad B and Boca and Starbase. Maybe a launch or two out of the Cape, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. I don't expect the Cape to be online until end of quarter 2, early quarter 3 of next year, along with the vehicles that are supposed to go over there. I think it'll only still be once a month. For their cadence to really jump up, they got to get their manufacturing going quicker, and right now it's not. Yes, they have a lot of nose cones, but that doesn't mean they have a lot of ships. They have to build them still. So, yeah.
There's a question I'd like to answer as well. Fly Frosty, where are you all around the world? Well, I'm in Yorkshire, which is very odd for a site that covers mainly US rockets, but that's how it is. I'm a Shuttle fan. I went back for the Shuttle history 20 years ago. I was a journalist. I've been a journalist all my life. And then they said, why don't you set up a site? And it was like a part-time hobby after work. And it's just grown into this absolute monster since. There was no plans for that. But that's where I come from, Yorkshire. Yes, Yorkshire in chat, thank you. Alex is from Spain. Ryan's from Minnesota. Am I correct in saying you're from Minnesota, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm in Minnesota.
I don't know if you were born there. That's what I was trying to work out.
I was not, but I live in Minnesota.
That's fair enough. But mostly Americans. But we do have people all around the world. That's an important thing to do as well, not just because of time zones, because just nice little variation. It also caters for the audience. Let's face it, the audience is quite all around the world. It's quite amazing when you look at the statistics in like YouTube Studio or in analyticals for the site. You get people from hundreds of countries. It is crazy. It really is. I would give a shout out to Netherlands. The Netherlands is always very high up on the rankings. there is a lot of spaceflight fans in the Netherlands, which is really cool. But actually, that's one of our main webmaster, Mark, comes from. So it's a nice little synergy there as well, that we have a lot of Dutch people. And yes, here they are. They're all in chat now. It's crazy. Just trying to. That's a question you preempted me on. Where are you all from? Post in chat, and we'll try and read out as many as we can. Because I've seen El Salvador, New Zealand, Louisiana, Argentina, Scotland, Texas, Germany. A lot of Germans, by the way. There's always a lot of Germans. And there's a Minnesota there, Ryan. Iceland, BC, Canada, British Columbia, Brazil, Lancashire, Netherlands, California. It's crazy. Look at that. Just people all around the world just watching this ship ready to start fire, which is really, really cool. And on that point, I think I'm going to let chat just go a little bit crazy for a little bit longer while I hand over the reins to Mr. Ryan Caton. Ryan, do we have you?
Yes, I am here. And I am... Do I have to put where I'm from in chat as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Norwich.
Yeah.
Everyone will go, what, Norwich? Famous Norwich in Norfolk?
Once the capital city of the UK.
It was it really? Because I know York was the second
capital. We have
capital.
a castle and everything.
But how was it capital? London was always the capital, surely. We were the second capital.
Well, we're just important like that, you know?
I'm going to have to Google that and find out what that was, the story behind that one. But yeah, Brian's going to take over. We're looking forward to this static fire test. It's not happening soon, but it's going to hopefully we can get this vent cut off and they'll go into propellant mode. And that's where we stand right now. They've kind of aborted that process, but we have not aborted the static fire test. It's just a hold in the process. But until then, hand it over to Ryan. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Chris B. As you say that, it looks like the OLM vent is dying off there at the launch pad. So, Alex, what could that be indicative of? Is that positive or negative as things currently stand?
That's neutral right now. We're just hoping to see anything going in the other direction, in the direction of loading. When they are detanking, it's just like when they're loading. If we don't see the OLM vent, that means that they're just detanking and things like that. Mostly because through that line, the OLM vent is actually attached to the liquid oxygen line that goes to the ship, right? And so if you're venting out, then that means whatever it's passing through the line, then it's good. It's not going back to the tank farm or going to the ship. It's just being vented out, right? So either if you're loading onto the ship or detanking from the ship, if the OLM vent is on, then whatever you're passing through that line, in whatever direction, it'll just be vented out because there's a lot lower pressure outside in the atmosphere, right? And so that's the whole reason why we see that OLM vent dying off when they are loading propellant, but also when they are stopping propellant load and they're detanking, we see that OLM vent, sort of coming on and off as they do all of these detanking and drain backs and all that. So right now we're waiting on them to see if they're going the other direction, on the direction of loading again propellant into the ship, and we'll see when that might happen, and then that'll give us a clue as to when the test might be reattempted. Now, as we were sort of talking about before, the test is not called for. Like, you don't just say, oh, they stopped the count, they stopped the propellant load, let's call it a day and close the live stream. No, because they still have until 9 p.m. Central to do the test, right? So they can still retry again today. And so until the road closure is not open and things like that, we will not just say, oh, let's call it a day, right? Or at least until every single other detail, any other single piece of indication points to them not trying again today. We will obviously keep an eye on Ship 38 and all the ground systems to make sure that we don't miss whatever thing they do today on it.
And of course, whilst that road closure currently runs until 9 o'clock this evening local time. I mean, SpaceX, they've extended a road closure more than once before. So that's just more of an indication than a hard set limit in order for today's testing. I mean, theoretically, they could go for as long as they like. Not that I would assume that they would want to go that long, but yeah, they have pretty much open limits there when it comes to those sorts of things. We can see that on the right-hand side in that box. That is the road closure set up for today's testing on Highway 4. We can see the police there. No engineers, as Chris B was saying earlier, lining up, wanting to go out to the pad as of yet. So we'll just we'll keep an eye and see how things track from this perspective. As a little bit of a recap, Ryan, I'm wondering if you could run us through the last hour or so, because they were about to go for that static fire test, it looked like, but since then everything's kind of quietened down a little bit.
Yeah, so they were on track for around 5:10. And then what looked like to the start of prop load with the OLM vent shut off. The methane subcoolers never engaged to start subchilling propellant for a prop load. And then all of a sudden the OLM vent came back indicating that they had aborted a prop load or stopped prop load. Since then the OLM vent has gone on and off and whatnot, and it's mostly just gas at this point. SpaceX could be trying to maintain the chill down of it while they're trying to work out as to what's going on or anything like that. So we're just kind of in a hold at the moment. We're waiting to see if SpaceX is going to increase the chill down again, get the pipes to the correct temperature, and get into prop load again, or what the next steps are here. So we're just kind of sitting and waiting here. Road is still closed, and of course they still have a little over 3 hours in the window. And their road closure window, so.
It looks like that OLM vent is returning ever so slightly. We can hear it too.
No, that is a ship vent, I think.
Oh yeah, you can see it from the north here.
Looks like every vent is open. So let's see here. Maybe that's a reset.
Yeah. Just standing by, waiting to see what SpaceX will do next. Of course, we don't get a press release at the start of the day explaining everything that SpaceX wants to do over the next 24 hours, right? We kind of have to make determinations based on what we see. So that's what we're doing right now. And if you're not sure where we're looking, if you kind of look right at the border between the steel and the thermal protection system there, we're kind of in the middle of this shot right now. There's a little white stream being ejected from a little black hole on the side of the tank. So that's what we're keeping an eye on at the moment on the side of Ship 38. So that venting continues. But the noise has definitely died down at this point.
With that vent being open as long as it has been, that's not just a maintaining pressure. I think they are depressing.
Yeah, that is running for a considerable amount of time at this point. Would a depress vent be a indication of a reset at this point, Ryan, or would a vent of this duration point more towards standing down for the day?
So when they do a depress, they're basically, I guess I could just start it with this. Before they ever load propellant in these vehicles, they have what are called the pre-press lines on the QDs. This puts in either gaseous oxygen or gaseous methane in order to pressurize the tanks and partially chill them down before they actually load cryogenic propellants in them. That's why the tanks are currently pressurized, and they also try to keep the vehicles pressurized because it helps structural integrity-wise. When they're depressing it this much, usually it means they are safing the vehicle so that they're not at any high pressure, so that it's safe to approach it, especially with the vents being on this long. So I would say this is a depress vent for a possible abort, and they could try to shut everything down, recycle it. I mean, they do have 3 hours left. It only takes them from bunker vent to static takes them only 2.5 hours. And then they can always extend the closure. They've done it many a times. But if, the road were to open, then of course that is the true, they are done for the day. But as for right now, it looks like a depress vent.
And Alex, everything, at least from the outside, appeared to be going okay until this point, correct? I mean, unlike some of the previous tests that we have seen for the previous flight campaign, I don't believe we were seeing any leaks from those flex hoses on that adapter. I mean, everything looked, at least from the, obviously we can't see inside the vehicle and see the sensors that SpaceX will be seeing, but at least from the outside, visually, things were looking okay, right?
Yeah, it seemed to have, gone as we usually tend to see these tests, right? When they load propellant and then suddenly the OLM vent came back, which indicated that the propellant load had stopped. And so we don't know what happened. It must be some kind of thing either with a tank farm, with a ship. We really have no idea, unfortunately. It's not like we can have as much data as SpaceX can have, of course, on their consoles and whatnot. But yeah, they must have seen something that they did not like and they wanted to stop the test, and that's completely fair. Better to, as they said, better scrubs than ruts.
Especially, I would say, with the
static fire in the rain.
In recent memory, Ship 36, rest in peace. I think that one comes to mind quite quickly, and let's leave it at that. But yeah, that vent is still going there, so looking like a depressurization is going on right now with Ship 38. But of course, as we were saying, that window for testing today, it's very long, goes until the evening, and SpaceX can extend it if they need to. So there are no concerns whatsoever on that point.
And even then, tomorrow they have a very early morning window at 7 a.m. So I would recommend people watching, if for whatever reason we go tomorrow, prepare your coffees.
Indeed. And there's also the potential that even if they do end up doing a test today, they do another test tomorrow, because there's two... the previous flight campaigns, all the ships have done 2 static fires. They've done a single-engine static fire and a 6-engine static fire of the Raptor engines to prove both the in-space burn and the actual burn from booster engine cutoff there and from hot staging. So those are 2 tests we are keeping our eyes peeled for in case SpaceX has decided to go with that specific testing sequence yet again, which, I mean, Ryan, is that what we're expecting? I wouldn't really see a reason why for the final flight, the farewell flight of Starship Block 2, why they'd want to switch up the campaign too much.
I would expect the same, because they'll probably want to do another in-space burn test, because why not? It's one of those things. It's going to be another suborbital flight. The biggest test for this ship overall is going to be testing a basically fully completed heat shield with the crunch wrap, which is just folded up felt, is really all it is. That's what they want to do, because this is the heat shield that they want to install on Block 3 and up. So they want that to get tested more than anything else. But I expect them to do another payload deploy, another in-space burn, and that's why they're going to do it. I expect them to do a single-engine test along with a 6-engine, because to just keep it the same. No reason to change it up now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This angle from the dunes here makes it a little bit easier to see that event we were talking about, 45%, 40% up the ship there. You can see that vent continuing to vent for the depress there. And it looks like it just shut off. So, Alex, let's assume that they have completely... Is it safe to assume they've completely depressurized the vehicle at this point with that vent shutting down?
Yeah, most likely. We'll see what happens from now on if they continue, preparing everything for a recycle and try again today, or if we see a bunch of cars just, going through the roadblock and heading down to the back. Because, even if they retry again today, they may want to have some people going at the launch pad, and taking a look at it. We'll see. We'll obviously keep an eye there on that roadblock, as you can see on the view on the right there. But so far that's where we are right now. Just watching, tank watching right now.
And I think one of those vehicles has actually left the roadblock, but the sheriff is still there, so the road is most definitely still closed as things stand at the moment. But I do believe one vehicle has left, so we will of course be keeping an eye on that. All of those cars you're seeing in the background making that turn, they're turning onto LBJ Boulevard, so that is not of a concern to this roadblock. That's further up Highway 4. Just looks a lot closer because of the camera being zoomed in from our highway site here. But Ryan, for that, we were watching that depress vent. Has it come back? I can't actually tell. But we were watching that depress vent in the event that SpaceX were doing a reset at the moment, and they were going to go for another attempt at the static fire test today. What are some of the things we should be keeping an eye out for next? Because, of course, they need to, if they were to go for that, they would need to kind of turn everything back on.
Yeah, they would have to. It looks like they they're not keeping the locks, the subcooler chilled down, so they would have to start re-chilling down, or at least extra chilling down the subcoolers again, if you know what I mean. Trying to find the right word for it. But basically getting frosty again, they would have to start flowing liquid oxygen back to the pad in order to get the lines from not only the subcoolers and the pumps through the bunker, but also getting everything else chilled down again to the correct temperature. You'd have to see the waterfall OLM vent again, because when they do that waterfall vent, it's because they start with gas and then they switch to liquid oxygen, basically. So when you see the waterfall, it's pure liquid oxygen just pouring out of the OLM vent. That would have to come back. And then, of course, the subcoolers would have to engage as the OLM vent shuts off and start to prop load again. So they'd have to re-chill things down back to the correct temperatures. We don't know what the problem was. We haven't seen any cars go out there. There's a chance that they want to wait for everything to be safe before they send people out there to go look at what needs to be looked at. Or they're just going to try to do a full recycle. We don't really know yet. So.
Indeed. And whilst we're kind of in this holding pattern right now, waiting to see what SpaceX does next, I'm going to very quickly hit a little bit of support, because we have been getting, as usual with our Starbase streams, so much support. It is very, very greatly appreciated from everybody. John, first of all, always in chat for the Troll Spray Fund. Thank you very much for the support there. Jeff Rowe, another one of those people who's always in chat, gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you very much, Jeff. Captain Q becoming a Padrat member. Space Pope, always in chat as well. All of these very, very common names, always in chat with the $10 saying need an NSFT cozy with TPS. John, again, I think this is from when Chris was asking where everybody was from. I think that is the biologically correct answer. Nick, thank you very much for the support as well. Saying that they are saying let's go for October 6th or October 7th. That would be tight maybe October, the week after that, maybe, or before. But I'll leave it there. We want it to be as far away from that meetup as possible. And Camille in the chat with the 12 euros. Thank you very much for the support. Saying, did you miss anything? As it stands, not really. And congratulations to your parents as well. But yeah, as things stand, you haven't really missed much because SpaceX went to start fueling the vehicle, fueled it a little bit, and then changed their mind, and have since, we believe they have depressurized the vehicle on pad 1 at Starbase. So that is where we currently stand. It's kind of in a holding pattern, as you might be able to tell, because we're not 100% sure what SpaceX is going to be doing next. But speaking of Flight 11, Ship 38 is of course the Starship slated to fly Flight 11. Those things don't change too often unless something happens. Quickly glancing back at the screen to make sure the ship is still there. Yes, it is. First of all, Mr. Rocketman is asking, do you expect any changes to the flight profile for Flight 11? And Michelle asking, do you think there'll be a catch on Flight 11? I'll go around everybody here. Jack, if you're still with us from the Rocket Ranch Outpost, I'll throw this to you first. What do you think SpaceX is going to be doing with Flight 11? Do you think it's going to be a replay of Flight 10? Do you think the catch is back? I want the catch to be back, but I have my reservations on that one.
I so want the catch to be back. However, I expect we'll see more booster testing, and yeah, the booster will be expanded again. I'd really love to see it hover again. That was wild on Flight 10. And yeah, I don't think it'll be back. It sure would be great though, and you know, they've proven they can do it multiple times, so it's only a matter of time until catches are normal in the same way that a Falcon 9 drone ship or RTLS is normal. We just got to be patient. Oh, is there a car at the thing?
Yeah, we're seeing a car which is not a cop car at the roadblock there. Looks as if the driver is being spoken to. Let's just
the cops just all, and everyone just got in their SUVs, so let's see.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye, because it's this strange determination you have to make as to whether it is a engineer that needs to make their way to the pad or a tourist which has gotten lost and taken a wrong turn. So we just have to figure out why that vehicle is waiting there, to figure out whether that's actually someone from SpaceX who wants to make their way out to Ship 38 at the moment. But
looks
yeah,
like
we'll
it has a strobe on it, so it might be a SpaceX vehicle.
Certainly having a nice long chat there at the roadblock.
Hey, we're gonna get food later. What do you want to grab? I don't know. I was thinking ribs. Ribs! We had ribs last night. I just really like ribs. Crap, no, I want ribs.
Just, you know what? Now I do too.
Yeah, now I want ribs too.
Dang it, Jack.
I've already had my dinner, so I feel like
Jack,
I have immuned myself from that particular
It's all Jack's fault now.
But yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Just looks like they're engrossed in some interesting conversation at this point. But we will of course be keeping an eye as things progress, or less so, more likely. But we'll remain optimistic. There is a lot of time left in this window, and we'll wait to see what SpaceX does next with Ship 38. Let's have a look through here for some more questions. Of course, if you are just joining us, tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight at NSF with all of your questions and comments. We can bring it into the queue, and makes it nice and easy for us to display and discuss on the ticker there. Let's have a look through here. I don't exactly want to discuss this one too much, but since we're kind of in a quieter period, I think it's probably safer to discuss this one in a quieter period than a more active period. But Kingdom of Red Italy is asking, what would happen if a static fire became a dynamic fire? Now, we've seen one type of dynamic fire, with Ship 36 about 3 months ago to the day, June 18th. I'm wondering if Kingdom of Red Italy is meaning that kind of dynamic fire or more of a launch dynamic fire like we have seen with Tiangong 3 in China, I believe, a little whiles ago now. Alex, let's go with the latter. What are some of the things that SpaceX has to prevent such an event occurring at a static fire as we see more vehicles arriving at the roadblock?
So if you believe in a god, pray to that god and hope that it doesn't hit anybody. That's essentially the way that it's handled. There's no flight termination system or anything like that. I'm sure there might be maybe in some place of the code on the software that if it senses that it is, in flight or something, that maybe it shuts down the engines, for example, and then that, that means the ship just comes back down, essentially pretty much where it is, right? And it doesn't create any issues, I guess, downrange or, well, I guess downrange, anything becomes downrange at that point. Because it could fly off anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's sort of my point here, that unless they have some kind of code that if it senses that it's in flight, it shuts down the engines or something like that. There's no flight termination system. There's nothing like that on the ship. So it's just pretty much just pray that it doesn't hit anybody. Pretty much like the Chinese Tiangong 3 rocket, right? A year ago, where it went through the same thing. The hold down clamps. They were not designed to hold the loads. They figured that out afterwards, for whatever reason. But yeah,
I mean, I think it became pretty obvious afterwards that the hold down clamps weren't strong enough to hold down the Tiangong 3 when it was flying through the air.
Yeah, because they were. So the story is that they have another rocket, smaller rocket called Tiangong 2, because the 3 is not just for randomness or anything like that, or because it has 3 engines or anything like that. It actually has 9 engines. But the 3 is because there's a Tiangong 2, and the Tiangong 2 was tested on the same stand, but it's lower thrust. So the test stand was rated to test the Tiangong 2 rocket, which had lower thrust. So when the Tiangong 3 fired the engines and surpassed the thrust of the Tiangong 2, and even beyond that, because it's a lot more powerful than that, it just broke off the hold downs. And so now they have bigger hold downs, much number, like a larger number of them as well. I think it's like 6 instead of 4, something like that. They also have tie downs as well to keep it in place. Nothing like what happened that day. But yeah, for Starship, if something like that were to happen, I don't think they will be it would be a great day. There's a sort of like a side sort of, the same way that they hold down the Tiangong and everything, and there's like tie downs and everything. Starship has sort of like a safety system, if you will, which is adding a lot of liquid oxygen to the liquid oxygen tank. When Ship 36 was about to static fire and then it exploded and all that, it was being loaded with propellants. It had a nearly almost full tank of liquid oxygen, but just a tiny bit of methane, and that helps a lot because it weighs down the ship. And in fact, I think if you had a completely fueled ship, you will not be able to lift off even with all 6 engines lit up. So you will not be able to even take off, even if the hold downs fail. Like, you're essentially not putting any sort of force, or at least major force.
I was going to say, with this ship, if you were to fully fuel it and even run all 6 engines at max power, it still wouldn't lift off. It doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough high enough thrust weight ratio.
So I guess that is sort of the passive safety system, if you will, where it's like,
just too heavy.
Yeah, it's just too heavy to even lift off. So, I mean, you're literally not putting any force on those hold downs in the up direction. Obviously, because it's still weighing down. There's in the down direction. But that's essentially the safety system, right? For Starship to not fly off. And the booster the same. The booster, when they test the booster on the pad, it does have hold down clamps and everything as well, but they fire the engines at 50% thrust, and the oxygen tank is fully loaded. So again, it weighs down on the booster and it keeps it there. It's not moving.
Well, it's good to know. And fingers crossed we don't get anything more dynamic than an engine firing today. Anything more dynamic than that would be less than ideal. But a great breaking space video, I'd be sure. Anyways, moving on. Let's hit a little bit more support because we have John yet again in chat gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you very much, John. Mare Meguma, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much for that. Richard has become a Capcom member. You now get access to the member Discord where Jack posts the abomination that he calls a bagel. Completely incorrect. But
You're
you know,
wrong.
we let him get away with it. I'm not sure why. I think the moderators should be kind of banning those horrible things that he calls it because they're not bagels. I mean, like literally by the dictionary definition of the word bagel, it is not a bagel.
It's literally a bagel.
Ryan,
I get it from a place called Hank's Bagels. They're bagels. It's a bagel.
Ryan Kate is right.
But you know what? If you don't want to argue about bagels, but you want to learn about spaceflight, there's actually channels in the Discord about that too. But also, it's just a jalapeno cheddar everything bagel. Like, why is this such a hard thing for people to comprehend?
That's one thing me and Brian agree on. It's the fact that they're not bagels.
It's a bagel. It follows all the rules and protocol. It's boiled dough that is it's in the shape of a bagel. It's a bagel. What do you want from me?
Churros are also bagels by your definition.
I don't agree with that. They're not even circular. Get out of here. Don't try and invalidate my argument with absurdity. I am not signing on to this argument.
The ones you have in the United States are not circular. The ones that we have in Spain are circular. There you go.
By the way, one of the cops left the roadblock, but there's still one there, so it's still closed. But no, he's back.
Also,
he's just parking up.
Cinnamon bagels do exist, so get out of here. That's different than a churro.
I think we'll let chat decide your fate on that one, Jack, because they're not bagels. Anyways, Bideford, always in chat. Thank you very much, Bideford, for your support as well. We're getting so many people in chat today, like regulars in chat, which is wonderful to see. And your continued support, especially from people like Bideford, is so greatly appreciated. Saying that when I get to Starbase, I'll make you the best ribs you have ever had. Promise no more than 10 NSFers can attend. Jack, are you going to be signing up to that one?
Yeah, I'm definitely in. I used to have a tradition back in LA with some friends called Rib Day, where every now and then we would, one person would supply the ribs and then another person would cook them. And I'm overdue for a Rib Day. I will supply the ribs if somebody knows how to cook them well, because I certainly don't.
And Alex,
we not?
Go on, Alex.
No, you're talking about food. It's making me.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were about to hint at the fact that there is now like 5 cars lining up at the end of the road closure.
Yeah.
So I think this is now at this point pretty indicative of the direction of the test, of which way the test is going to be going today, unless they close the road again. But I'm thinking at this point we are seeing the cop cars moving, cars queuing up on Highway 4. It is not looking too great for a test to take place within the next few hours. I'll put it that way at least. But the police are still there. The road is still closed. So I'm seeing SpaceX security rocking up as well. So we'll keep an eye out, see if any more vehicles move. But there is a lot of cars queuing up. It's making me a little bit nervous.
Now I need to decide what I'm going to do for dinner tonight. I don't know now. Getting me hungry.
You should do some proper bagels and then show Jack what proper bagels look like.
Ribs on a bagel. If I had a way to smoke ribs, I'd do it, but I don't. So. Because to do ribs right, you need to get the right rub on them and then actually smoke them. You slow cook them. Could do it in the oven, but on a charcoal grill is just better.
I'm going to say yes and nod along, like I know exactly what you're talking about and that I know how to cook ribs, because I do not. But I will be nodding along anyways, because I will take your word for it. Looks like there's even more cars now queuing up at the end of the queue there.
I think this is I think they are expecting the road to open soon with the queue here. That is just that's my guess. And they're just waiting for the all clear from
there's that white car again
from
with the
mission
strobes.
control and whatnot. They're probably waiting for the all clear to make sure that the pad is safe and it's safe to approach. And then as soon as that is good, the cop cars will leave and open the road. That's my guess is what's happening here, because there's the pulp vent that's going, but the bunker vents basically stopped. The subcoolers are losing their chill.
I'm also going to lose my chill.
Right?
Everything is winding down at this point. So, unfortunately, things are currently trending in the direction of testing concluding for today. But of course, we will stay live with the current action at the moment because the road is still closed. And as the road remains closed, I'll just very quickly run through Chromatic. Thank you very much for gifting a Red Team membership. KBX81 saying what would happen if a static fire became a static ice. I think the Raptors have something else to say about that.
That's very weird. But
yeah, I would. You'd need kind of a more Andoya climate for something like that to take place in South Texas. Lasertech, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And Eric Fraser, who's this? Never heard of this guy before. Saying exactly how many things you're allowed to put on a bagel before it stops being a bagel, Ryan. I have no objection to putting whatever you like on a bagel. My objection is that what Jack calls a bagel is definitively...
You clearly do.
No, let me finish my point.
Why?
We're respectful adults, let me finish my point. I have no problem with the abhorrent things Jack puts on his bagels. The problem I have is that the things he calls bagels are not bagel-shaped. If not bagel-shaped, how is it a bagel? It just cannot be. It's not right.
Are you mad that it's not open-faced?
Does that mean it's round with the hole in the middle?
It's like in sandwich mode. It's in sandwich mode. Like, do you want it to be cut in half?
Cars to the pad.
Cars to the pad.
Unfortunately, I have to interrupt Jack at that specific moment in time because vehicles are returning to the pad. Road still closed to the general public, but they are returning. SpaceX vehicles more like are returning to the pad down Highway 4. Yeah, we were.
Back to which stream was it that Jack kept doing that? I'm trying to remember which one it was.
It was a Falcon 9 launch, and it was like making the sounds. When the fairing separated, it was like, wee.
So that car is still making its way to the pad. We are just lost it on the track there. But that is one vehicle so far that has gone through the roadblock. That is unfortunately how things stand at the moment with ship testing today. And there is that vehicle making its way down Highway 4.
You know, like, the entire launch site is cleared because of testing. What is it like to be the first one to a completely empty launch site? Right?
I hope there's Freebird, going on in that car. Because it's kind of that. I don't know what other songs, maybe, somebody playing in there, but I will be playing a song like that.
Time to go do some percussive maintenance on a subcooler, maybe. I don't know. Hit it with a hammer a few times. That'll get it working. Maybe on a valve.
And another car.
And another one.
So that's 2 cars already down Highway 4.
Many more at this point.
Roadblock is gone. There it is.
Yeah, that is
7, 8,
Highway
9,
4.
10.
I think we get the point now, Alex. That is Highway 4 very much open to the public at this point.
Day.
So the sheriff's leaving the roadblock there, and everyone's streaming back down Highway 4 out to the launch pad there. So the testing is clearly stopped at a point and depressurized to the point where SpaceX has deemed it safe enough for the general public to be allowed to access Highway 4 and the beach once again. And you can see that trailer making its way back down Highway 4, traveling a little bit less than 45 miles an hour, I would imagine, but it's something we see on a pretty regular
I think
basis.
he's got some taillights out, but anyways.
Yeah, might wanna give that one a little look. You can see the ship there on Pad 1 in the background as the vehicles make their way back. Tank farm's still going. You can see some of those vents still going, but Ryan, those are not the sort of vents we see when they are in fueling operations. Those are more just kind of general tank farm doing internal activity shenanigans vents, right?
Yeah, those are mostly just they're bleeding off the last of the pressure, letting out just kind of bleeding out the lines that were chilled down and had, methane or LN2 or liquid oxygen in them. So it's just basically they're just safing everything, and it's just kind of normal operations to safe it as everyone heads back.
That's a very pretty shot there from the south looking up. So of course it is approaching 5:30 in the evening local time here in Starbase. Sun is getting lower and lower towards the horizon. But there we go. I think this is pretty much the prettiest view we will be getting today, sadly, because it does appear that SpaceX has had to abort the static fire test today with ship 38. However, Alex, there is another window, another closure window that is open tomorrow if SpaceX wishes to go ahead with testing in kind of like a 18-hour turnaround.
Yeah, so it will be tomorrow. The window opens at 7 a.m. and goes all the way to 4 p.m. Central. So anybody in the USA, get your coffee ready because tomorrow it might be an early one. Or I mean, if you don't take any coffee or anything, if you don't drink any coffee or anything like that, I don't know. Drink Energy, Celsius or whatever, not sponsored. I don't know.
Yeah, with a 7 a.m. closure, SpaceX, we could have a 9:30, 10 a.m. Well, 9:30, 10 a.m. static fire. Could have like 10 a.m. So we'll see.
Yeah,
if they go right away.
For that timing, because whatever happened, I mean, as we were discussing earlier, it doesn't appear anything visual from the outside was incorrect. Like everything looked good from the outside, looked like what we would expect to see for a test of this nature. So anything that would have caused an abort of a static fire would have been something internal that only SpaceX would have been able to see through the various data and sensors and things like that they have access to, of course, that we will never ever get to see, unfortunately. But that's how those things go. Private company and all of that, they are, of course, entitled to keep their data to themselves. But there's still a lot more stuff going on at Starbase, as you can see there in the background. We've got Pad 1 on the left with Ship 38, but in the background there on the right, we've got Pad 2, which is still very much under construction right now. SpaceX is still working on getting that pad online, maybe within the next few months if Elon gets his way, but we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. But things are still going on over on Starbase Live, so of course a big thank you as always to our Starbase Live operators for keeping the show going nearly much 24/7 right now. We've got so many volunteers who keep Starbase Live pretty much fully staffed, and actually people controlling the cameras 24/7, which is pretty bonkers to see, and it's always great to see. And they are, of course, very helpful when doing these dedicated live streams as well. So a big thank you to all of those people in the background making things work. Someone else in the background making things work, Jake Egan, thank you very much for producing today's stream, pushing all the buttons and bringing these live views to us. Earlier, before myself, we of course had Crispy, NSF Actual, hosting the stream. A big thank you to Crispy as always. And out in the field, bringing us the, well, lack of action today, unfortunately, Jack Byer, thank you very much for joining us from the Rocket Ranch Outpost.
You're quite welcome. Had a great day hanging out, watching the storms pass, watching the Starship, sitting on the launch mount. Like, this is it. This is the last time they're going to do this, hopefully, presumably. So, good day.
Indeed. And on commentary alongside me, well, I've only been here for the last hour or so, but alongside me, Ryan Webber. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ryan.
Yeah, it's always fun to get on and talk to our ship, even if there's an abort. I guess Block 2 and Pad A1 didn't want to go out without one last, abort or hiccup, I guess.
They're trying to keep it as active for as long as possible.
Right. Maybe, fingers crossed, this is the last one ever, and they do 2 more static fires, we get a launch, and that's it. I had the fingers crossed. And this is the last abort for this pad.
100%. And also, Alex, thank you very much for joining us for, a less exciting day than it could have been with Ship 38.
Yeah, it's a bummer that we didn't get the static fire test, but we might get it tomorrow. Hopefully, if everything goes well, that should be tomorrow. Somebody asked in chat, just a quick thing, whether they could do the 2 static fires tomorrow. One of the reasons why we think they won't is because these static fires are not just, when you're trying to start your car or something like that. Yep, it works. No, like after the static fire happens, there's a process of looking through the data and everything, right? And so that's why they usually stagger these and they don't occur on the same window. They usually happen on different days, precisely so they have a bit of time to look through the data, make sure that they can check through everything. So I would expect, a static fire test tomorrow, and then the other test happening probably on Saturday or whatever other time they can do that other test. So I wouldn't expect them both on the same day, but hey, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow what happens.
It would be cool if they did something that hasn't been done since like SN9, or even I think it was like S24 or 20 to do like 2 in the same day within a few hours.
Yeah, in that case, of course, the purpose was literally, testing multiple fires in the same day, rather than let's test the ship and look at the data, right? This obviously is a whole different purpose. But anyways, not to extend this outro.
Yeah.
See you guys tomorrow.
Longest outro ever. We give Alex slack for his answers. I think you can see why. Anyways, mine has been Brian Caton. Thank you very much for joining us. Follow us on all the socials. You know the deal. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more, fingers crossed, Ship 38 testing. Bye-bye.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?